Lucha? You want Lucha? You want Lucha? I've got Lucha for you!
Welcome back to the Temple, the Lucha Underground Rewatch podcast. I'm Adam from FWCI, joined as always by Malik.
Yo, yo, how's it going, guys?
Yo, yo, how's it going, guys? He says, Jesus Christ, Malik. You need to come up with a catchphrase, man. That's what the people want.
I'm gonna come up with like the most corniest fucking catchphrase if I ever do. It's gonna become like a fucking Urkel catchphrase by the next few episodes, I'm telling you.
You know,
It'll be that bad.
When I was a kid, I had a t-shirt with Steve Urkel on it, and all around him were his catchphrases. No sweat, my pet. Did I do that? All of them. They were all on there.
Do you still have that?
Jesus Christ! That was like literally 3 decades ago. I do not have my Steve Urkel
I was gonna
t-shirt.
say, because that would be the fucking
I have a photo of
greatest
it.
shirt to still have.
I have a photo.
I would die if anyone fucking wore that, like, today. That would kill me.
Episode 5 is called Boyle Heights Street Fight, main evented by Prince Puma and Big Rick. He's still running roughshod over the temple, destroying everybody. This episode, I feel like all the meat was in the main event. There was still some good matches, especially in the opener, but what were your initial thoughts of episode 5 of Lucha Underground so far?
I really enjoyed it, and I know exactly what you mean by, like, the meat is in the main event. The rest of the episode feels thin compared to what it's building up to, but that's actually one of the things that I've really been enjoying about Lucha Underground is just the way that it's building up to its stories, because I'm seeing in every episode, it seems, it just shows how good the writing is. It seems that they're always building up to something that might either happen in the next episode or 4 or 5 episodes ahead. And there's always some story build up happening that's keeping me fucking hooked to the show. And it felt like this was kind of like a payoff episode to the past few episodes before this.
In terms with Prince Puma and Big Rick.
Yeah. That final match was fucking amazing.
Yeah, they do a good job of having some ebbs and flows throughout the Lucha Underground series, and there's one thing that, you know, a lot of wrestling companies really, they didn't embrace. They would always try and have something massive happening every single episode. Something big had to happen. It's okay to have these occasional episodes where things kind of rumble a little bit rather than explode, kind of thing. So I agree with you. I think it was a very well-paced show, and you wanted to put the highlight on that main event with Puma and Rick, because obviously that was definitely the highlight of the show.
Yeah, and I think that format like works better for Lucha Underground anyways, to have shorter episodes instead of just being big and fucking wild every episode. It works better with Lucha because I can kind of see it if it was like WWE in the Attitude Era where there was always something crazy happening weekly. I feel like if there were slower episodes, you would be able to tell and it wouldn't become as fun to watch. But with Lucha Underground, the slower episodes, I feel like work to boost the storytelling that they're trying to tell in Lucha Underground.
It's almost like building almost like tension in a way, in as far as the storylines go. Like, it's, you know, every gangster movie has that scene where, you know, everyone's sitting around a table and there's a lot not being said. Like, you don't have to go full-blown Arnold Schwarzenegger and have, you know, massive fights and explosions in every single week, you know. Let's get into the episode breakdown. We started off with Dario Dario and Conan in Dario's office, and Conan's accusing Dario of attacking Puma from behind. I think he said, "I don't drink with people who stab Puma in the back." And this all led to a request for a match between Puma and Big Rick in a Boyle Heights Street Fight. And then Dario sits down to have his drink, and Conan steals it and skulls Dario's drink, which I thought was a nice touch. So
yeah, I fucking love that. That was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, we're getting a bit more of the power dynamic between Conan and Dario Cueto, which I kind of like. Like, it feels like rival gangs. You've got the old Mexican guy who's, there with all the street kids, and then you've got the greasy, ultra villain as well in Dario. So I like the fact that these two, they're kind of like Professor X and Magneto. Like, they're enemies, but they're constantly sitting down and being somewhat amicable. Although he did steal his drink, which is not amicable at all.
Yeah. Fucking Conan plays his role so well too, and the scenes with Dario and Conan together, their acting, they fucking bounce off each other on the screen. They're a perfect pairing together for these, like you were just saying, like gangster moments in the show. I've really been enjoying Conan's work, actually. I've been trying to watch more of Conan away from Lucha Underground as well, so I've been trying to watch more of him in WCW, and recently I've become like more and more of a Conan fan from his promos. I think Conan's promos have been fucking killer. I love what he's doing in this show, and I definitely have to check out more of his stuff previously in WCW. And even in other companies.
It's funny you say that, because I feel like in WWF, Road Dogg, he was an okay wrestler, but his success hinged on his promo. And I feel like in WCW, Conan was almost a carbon copy of that as well, because his matches were never spectacular or anything like that, but he would come out with his "Olale, viva la raza, we're body, rowdy, Wolfpackers in the house." Like, and people were just like chanting along every single word. Like, he really made the promo work for him, which was was fantastic.
For sure. Yeah, the promo is fucking 50% of the work, and if you can make your promos that interesting, like, the thing is, someone with interesting promos, even if they're not the greatest wrestler in the world, I'm not saying Conan's not a great wrestler, he is a fucking amazing wrestler in the ring, but I'm just talking for wrestlers in general. When they have that level of promo quality, I can look past everything else because of their entertainment factor. And fucking Conan, his intros were, like you said, fucking killer. He had everyone in the ring, like, everyone in the crowd hype as fuck all the time, especially when he was in Wolfpack.
Yeah, exactly. It was a crazy time, but I just wanted to also mention that the Boyle Heights Street Fight name, I really enjoy that, because this is one of those cases where Lucha Underground is set in a location. Like, they're not just touring around and, hey, we're in Cincinnati, so we're going to have a Cincinnati street fight this week. Like, it really kind of adds a bit more, just a bit more of a world surrounding the temple as well. Like, showing that, this is actually a neighborhood that is going to become, synonymous with violence and stuff like that. I like that touch on renaming the street fight the Boyle Heights Street Fight.
Where does the show take place again, sorry?
Boyle Heights in California.
Oh, California, right.
Just outside of LA.
I was trying to think where Boyle Heights was for a second.
Yeah, it's a little tiny suburb. Like, I'm pretty sure when this show started, a lot of people were like, Boyle Heights? Like, I feel like, you're down in Adelaide, it'd be like if people were like, yeah, we're going to go to the Kilkenny street fights tonight. You'd be like, huh? What's going on in Bronson Reed in WWE, or Jonah as he's known as now. From Black Forest, South Australia. I'm like, I know Black Forest. There's a basketball court there and a friggin' shopping centre. Like, this is not intimidating.
Yeah, I couldn't see that. Like, if I had a fucking wrestler that was local and it, like, said where they were from, I couldn't fucking take them seriously because I know the area and them so fucking well. Like,
exactly.
If someone was to, like, fucking tell me they were from, like, the fucking rich parts of, like, Adelaide and shit like that in their wrestling intro, and they were coming out trying to be tough, it would fucking kill me. That would send me.
Let's talk about the first match. Muertes versus Drago. Obviously, Drago coming off of a win the week before, defeating, what's his name? My favorite guy, King Cueno, in his debut. This was fun. We got an appearance from King Cueno as well. Drago is as capable a luchador as anybody. Mil Muertes is just an absolute force. I love the matchup between them already. Then you add in the fact that King Cueno is just on top of Dario's office, just he's a hunter. I'm telling you, the hunter
that was
metaphor.
the coolest fucking thing.
It's amazing. Seriously. Like, he's up there like stalking his prey. Like, it's like he's up in the hide or the tree, up in the trees. Like, the hunters go up there and, you know, camp out there for hours and hours waiting for their prey to come out. Just, I love the symbolism with King Cueno, and I really enjoyed this match. What were your thoughts of this match in general and Cueno's involvement?
Yeah, this match was a really fun opener because I just really like Drago and Mil Muertes so far. They're two wrestlers that I really fucking love for their in-ring work. Like, I've spoken in past episodes about just how fucking vicious in the ring Mil Muertes is. So I really love the match for that, because you get to see him fucking ragdoll Drago in this match. But I honestly think the coolest part to the match was the storytelling that they were kind of doing with King Cueno, because I've been interested in his character as well since he came into the show. And I think the premise of a hunter hunting his prey is, like, so fucking cool. And I thought during the match that he was going to actually come down and attack Drago. But he didn't do anything, and he's just there watching his fucking prey. And that's kind of what I was talking about before in the intro, where Lucha Underground sets up his stories really well. Little things like that they throw into the episodes always keeps me hooked for the next thing. And I really want to see how King Cueno's story plays out in the series.
Yeah, the booking in this match, the writing in this match is pretty amazing. I mean, Muertes gets a clean win, and he's just, you know, like I say, just steamrolling his way to clean wins after clean win after clean win, which later on in the show, I actually have a win-loss record for Lucha Underground that I'm keeping as well. So we'll talk about who's got the most wins. Spoiler alert, it's Mil Muertes, because he's just been fucking dominating. But the Mil Muertes gets that. Cueno gets some awesome moments where he's, like, you know, doing the stalking and things like that. Drago doesn't look weak for losing to Mil Muertes by any means at all. You've got the size difference. You've also got Muertes's, what do you call it? His momentum. You got King Cueno as the distraction. They did a lot to really not let Drago be hurt by this. And obviously, Muertes won with the flatliner, which I don't mind that as his finisher, but, you know, we're going to see him use other moves as the series goes on. And after he leaves, King Cueno just comes in, hits the thrill of the hunt on Drago just to make a statement, and then slides out the ring, which, again, this is just a taste of how awesome. It's not subtle, but it feels kind of subtle, because I guess we're used to very hammy kind of things, but the way Cueno does his hunter gimmick in this, Santos Escobar in NXT now, it's, you know, it's way over the top. This guy is one of the best in the world.
Does Cueno, like, keep up the whole hunter gimmick during the show? Is that something that he continues with? Because I think it's really fucking cool. It kind of reminds me almost of when Sting was hiding up in the, like, rafters, but in a more, like, fucking... Well, I don't want to say...
Well, let me explain. Cueno's hunter gimmick gets so much more involved. It gets so much more literal. It gets so much more metaphorical. This is, like I say, just the tip of the iceberg for that character and that gimmick. You're going to see a lot of really fun... Whoever was writing for King Cueno must have been having a ball, because they had so much to draw from, and they really put a lot of that character into it. So you're definitely going to see
some
more.
Crazy shit, like pulls out a fucking knife or a bow and arrow or some shit in the fucking...
He's not going to skin his opponents, alright? He's not going to... It's not going to be Red Dead Redemption 2.
Fucking Mortal Kombat fatality, then?
No. It's not going to be Arthur Morgan and start fucking skinning his opponents in the ring. That would be pretty good, but I don't think we'll see it.
Yeah, they need a bigger CGI budget for that.
A little bit, yeah, definitely. So that was a great opener. Johnny Mundo has a vignette talking about leaving, quote-unquote, them. Obviously talking about WWE and his motivations for being in Lucha Underground. I remember at the time really liking this because this was well before AEW. Impact was not really doing much at the moment. There really was no other big wrestling company other than WWE. And people were still kind of scared to talk about it. It was still a bit of a weird topic to hear people discuss in character on other wrestling programs kind of thing. So that's why this promo seems a little bit kind of vague on who he's actually talking about. But I like the fact that Lucha Underground isn't shying away from the reality of the world, and they're actually acknowledging like, hey, I'm Johnny Mundo. I used to be called John Morrison in WWE, but I fucked off from there. Now I'm here to kick ass. I love the fact that they don't insult the viewer's intelligence by acting like those things never happened.
Yeah, so was Lucha Underground one of the first shows to do that? Because that's one of the things I've actually kind of liked watching AEW recently, is how they, like, mention everything. Like, they don't try to hide the past of the wrestlers who come in. They'll try and make that a part of the storyline, and they'll mention things like that. So wasn't there many other shows doing that? Was Lucha Underground like the main
I mean,
kind of thing?
Impact did it a lot, but they were, well, TNA Wrestling at the time, they did it a lot, but they were like just completely shameless about it to the point where you never really took it seriously. Like, they would come out and be talking about Vince this and blah, 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 and like, it was interesting and it was, entertaining TV to a degree, but they were way more egregious about it. And Lucha Underground, it was still, other than Impact, there was nowhere else for people to go. So it was just weird seeing any other wrestling organization, kind of mention WWE in their peripheral.
Alright, yeah, I get you.
So after that, we get Dario meeting Katarina backstage with Mil Muertes there as well. And she says, "You can't keep darkness locked away forever." I know exactly what this means, and I'm not going to say anything. What were your thoughts on this?
The main thing that I enjoyed from this segment, that I fucking get a kick off every fucking episode, is seeing Dario walk around the locker rooms, see his wrestlers, and be shit scared. That was the best part of this whole part to me, just him being shit scared, walking around the corner like... Ugh.
He's such a great
that would be
actor.
My exact reaction.
He's such a great actor as well. Like, they did a fantastic job casting Dario Cueto because they had somebody that had legitimate acting ability that could bounce off of these insane characters as well. So again, just another stroke of creative genius of when they put this show together, putting the right pieces in the right places.
Yeah, it's funny because it seems like he's scared of all his employees. Every single one he tenses up around, except the ones that's working for him.
I don't know. He was getting a bit lippy with Drago the other week. He's like, "You didn't even win. What are you gonna? You didn't even lose. What are you doing?"
Like if Drago turned around and did something though, then he would be fucking scared the rest of the series.
Son of Havoc versus Masquerita Sagrada was up next. Did you notice anything about the commentary on this match?
Nothing in particular apart from the fact that they're just kind of bullying Masquerita Sagrada on the mic.
Right, that's exactly what I'm talking about. They weren't being overly like cruel-hearted, I guess, but it's very dated now. Like back in the day, and even going back only like 10 years ago, wrestling commentators, if there was someone who had some kind of like physical disadvantage or some kind like that, like they really made a big deal out of it on commentary. They really leaned into the jokes and stuff like that. And I'm sure that is like almost a tradition as far as Lucha Libre goes, because they had a lot of minis, and the minis were a lot of times kind of played for comedy. So it was there to be like a comedic form of entertainment. But I guess we're in 2022 now. People are starting to realize that it's probably not okay to say certain things, and it was a little bit dated, I think, the commentary about Masquerita Sagrada.
It would be hard to watch this show with other people when shit like that comes on and have to like try to explain it.
Oh, bro, go back to the 80s WWF if you want to really fucking cringe in front of people.
Hell fucking no. I actually have a funny story about that. It was from the 90s WWE, and I was just watching WWF all day, basically, and fucking Dad just started walking around the house, and he had come out into the lounge room, and he hadn't seen any of the episode that I was watching, but he walked out at the worst fucking moment.
Was Vince McMahon's head going up Rikishi's ass or something?
Worse.
Oh, God.
Gold Dust was in blackface.
Oh, crap.
And my dad's looking at this. My mom too, like, what the fuck are you watching? I'm like, I'm trying to explain. It's like, it's wrestling.
Well, in that case, don't show your parents. I don't know what WrestleMania it is. Roddy Piper was fighting. You've obviously seen it.
I know when you're talking about, yeah.
He went beyond blackface. He went like half entire black body. Like, it was just way. It was almost like even more over the top and ridiculous to the point where you can't help but just like laugh at the absurdity of the whole thing. But yeah, that was.
Wasn't he getting ribbed too? Like, it wouldn't come off? Like, someone fucking gave him like a paint that wouldn't come off.
The story is, yeah, he had a solution that was there to like wash the paint off, and while he was out having his match, somebody got it and poured it down the sink. Yeah. Yeah, fuck that. But, yeah, so we had, the commentary was a little bit weird. The match was pretty good. I like the fact that we've got Ivelisse interfering at ringside. It gives that good dose of, like, you know, proper heel wrestling with the manager on the outside, just getting involved throughout the entire thing. Masquerita Sagrada did a dive to the outside, nearly landed on his friggin' head. I don't know if you remember that move, but holy shit, yeah, he took quite a spill.
He was doing fucking dives and flips and flies everywhere. It's insane.
Well, and he ends up winning with a roll-through pinfall. But during this match, we had a mysterious woman watching from the stands within the crowd.
Oh, fuck, I might have missed that, actually.
I wouldn't be surprised. Really? It only pops up for a second. She was only in there for a second.
Yeah, it's like a blink and you miss it.
Yeah, they barely mentioned... They didn't say, like, oh my god, it's such and such. They were like, huh, what's this woman doing? Like, she's just standing in the entranceway just watching the match. And, again, I know exactly who this character is and where we're going to see this person next, but... I love that kind of storytelling. Like, it's something... Again, blink and you miss it. If one of those things at the end of the episode, the first time people watch it, they could think back and go, who the fuck was that chick in the crowd? What was that all about? Like, she's obviously someone, but, you know, what was it? So, I like that kind of storytelling for this, of really kind of, all you need is, like, half a second of screen time to make an impact, if it's all handled the right way.
I'm sure it's also pretty cool for you as well to see the start of everything, like, culminating, where every character is first placed as well.
It's like watching Iron Man 1 at this point. You're like, holy shit, yeah, fuck, that's right.
And you see all the little fucking chess pieces where they were at the start. It's weird.
That's right. As long as they don't make the Lucha Underground Championship out of a box of scraps, then I'll be okay with that.
Okay with me too.
The next match is, again, we're 5 episodes in, and I think this could be considered a grudge match at this point. Sexy Star versus Chavo Guerrero. Match didn't go very long. I think we're going to see more of this, this for sure, because Sexy Star just sacrifices the match by kicking the referee in the nuts and grabs a chair so she can use it on Chavo. Then, Pentagon Jr. comes out and grabs the chair from Sexy Star. Looks like he's about to team up with Chavo and beat her down, but Rey Fenix comes out for the save, teams up with Sexy Star, and they clean house of Chavo and Pentagon. So, not much of a match, but what were your thoughts on this evolution, the evolving of... Hang on a second, what's the word I'm looking for? What were your thoughts on the continuation of this storyline?
It was cool to see Sexy Star, like, fucking kind of get her revenge. And when Penta and Phoenix came into the match, it was kind of like the big, like, holy shit moment that draws you in, where you have to keep your fucking eyes glued. It was a short match, but with what they did in the time, it was good storytelling. And I also really liked the finish of this match too, just to have Chavo run away like a little bitch. Like, I feel like that adds to the story of Chavo's character as well. Like, that's in line with what his fucking character would do.
I can't think of why Pentagon interfered in that match. I like
Me neither.
how it kind of goes, but, you know, what was Pentagon's motivation? Like, is he aligning with Chavo? Is he just wants to beat up Sexy Star? I think I have a bit of an idea, but it certainly sets up questions, and it's questions we're going to get answered probably in the next episode, because this is clearly setting up a tag team match. Player, holla holla.
Holla holla.
So the main event, the Boyle Heights Street Fight, Puma versus Big Rick. So this is basically a hardcore match, and this was a great display by Prince Puma, or Ricochet as he wrestled as before and now. Johnny Mundo would also come out into this match to interfere. What were your thoughts on Johnny jumping from the top of Dario's office into the ring and then helping even the odds against Rick and his cronies?
By far the coolest fucking moment I've seen in Lucha Underground was him jumping off straight into the ring. That was like something straight from like a video game or a movie. I'm not sure. Did he actually do that, or was that edited? I'm still kind of blown away by that. Did he actually fucking do that?
To my knowledge, they've never done any sort of CGI or editing on like in-ring stunts. But this way, we saw, what was it, Phoenix come off the top of that last time. And you know what's kind of interesting?
Yeah, true.
This is episode 5. I don't know how many episodes they recorded, like how many they filmed at a time, but usually they do like 4. I feel like 4, you do 4 episodes in a thing, that's one taping, you're done. Maybe they did 8, but if they do 4 episodes, Johnny Mundo obviously showed up at episode 5 and was like, I'm going off the top of that fucking roof.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. I've been here, I'm pretty sure it's safe, I got this. And we are going to see many more people come flying off that roof, and some of the highlights from that are fucking legendary. So you've got quite a lot of that to look forward to.
Yeah, because I fucking saw that and my jaw legit fucking dropped. All I can think in my head is like, how's this dude fucking fighting right now? How are you not hurt? How are you not like laid out, bro? It was the craziest thing. So I can't wait to see what like how Lucha Underground one-ups itself.
Mundo would kind of balls everything up by hitting Puma by accident with the chair, which, you know, if you've seen one wrestling match in your life, you saw that coming a mile away. That allowed the crew to put Puma through a table and win the match for Big Rick. Roll credits. That's the end of episode 5. So, any other thoughts on the main event or any of the other matches from this episode so far?
The main event of every episode in Lucha Underground, it seems, is always kind of one-upping itself, you know? I'm just seeing them do crazier and crazier shit and having a hardcore match. I don't think we've had a hardcore match in the show before, right? Not up to this point.
No, and you raise a good point, because they have the benefit of being able to say, this is the first time we're going to have a steel cage match. This is the first time there's a ladder match. Like, this is the first ever. And they have that blank canvas to just set the bar anywhere they want from these matches. And obviously, again, 5 episodes in, I feel like a lot of the talent is really starting to feel comfortable and good about this and wanting to, and they obviously always go out and put their all in, but really wanting to go that extra mile to make these matches special, because I think those first 4 episodes would have been everyone would have been a little bit on eggshells just about like, what is this? But at that point, I think everyone would have been a bit more into it.
Yeah, and it really sets the bar high for the show. So I can't wait to see what goes on in the next few episodes.
Yeah.
But this match... Oh, go on, sorry.
I was going to say, I'd love to gush about Prince Puma's in-ring ability, but honestly, we are going to have so many opportunities to do that, because if there's one thing Ricochet is, it's consistent, and he is consistently doing insane shit in this series.
Yeah, there was actually one spot that Prince Puma had that I really fucking loved, where there was like 3 people in the ring. He's fighting all 3, and then once they're out of the ring, he ends up tornadoing basically over the fucking ropes and kind of like jumped over them, and it was the craziest thing. I've never seen anyone do that in a wrestling ring, like, because he like spun himself midair.
And I've never seen. Are you also talking about where he jumps over and just landed on his feet?
I can't remember which one it was, but
there's a lot of dives in a principle.
Yeah, like when you're watching a Lucha Underground show, a lot of those moves get mixed up in your head because you're gonna see a lot of dives, gonna see a lot of flippy shit.
Yeah. Well, that's the end of the episode there. So we've got some regular segments. Before we jump into those, though, I want to have a look at the wins and loss record of Lucha Underground based on the first 5 episodes. So, obviously, at the top, we've got Mil Muertes. He's at 3 wins, right? We've then got Johnny Mundo at 2 wins.
Alright, that's higher than I was expecting.
That's alright. We've got...
for number 2.
Right, well, Muertes is clear number 1. The rest are all kind of tied for number 2. Phoenix has 2 wins.
Alright.
And also tied for second spot, Mascarita Sagrada with 2 wins.
Honestly, fucking Mascarita, I support you, man. Fucking get number 1. Mascarita is one of my favorite wrestlers. He needs to be number 1 on that list.
That's it. So what's also interesting about that is Pentagon started off with 2 losses, which I find interesting, just knowing how popular he will become. His first 2 matches in this series were both losses. Evil East started off with a couple of losses, but Chavo, 1 loss, 2 wins. Is there anybody else here who's on nothing but losses? Mr. Cisco and Castro. Obviously, we're early on in, but I'm keen to keep an eye on what the win-loss situation is in Lucha Underground. On the YouTube version, I'll put up a ranking thing so you guys can see exactly what we're talking about. But yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. You got Mil Muertes with all the wins. They're clearly building him towards something. The only real surprise on this is Pentagon.
Yeah, so Pentagon's got 2 losses and Ray's got 2 wins, right? Yeah, so does Pentagon pick up like the pace in later episodes and start getting more wins? Or was this at a point in like kind of their career when he wasn't as big a name? Because I'm not familiar with their career and the time frame that they're in Lucha Underground.
Both. So Pentagon Jr. was already... in Mexico and Lucha Libre circles, he was certainly known and people knew that he was going to be up and coming. But when he got to Lucha Underground and was kind of, presented to the world in this kind of American style, even though it's Lucha Libre, it's kind of produced in an American-y sort of style. Everybody who saw him was just like, this fucking guy is the best. So as Lucha Underground continued on, Pentagon Jr.'s popularity just continued to increase every single episode, it felt like. And yeah, the end of season 1, Pentagon Jr. could be one of my favorite wrestling matches of all time. So take that for what you will. But just thought it'd be fun to share the win-loss record with you. But the usual segments that we have are Where Are They Now, where we see what's going on with a Lucha Underground wrestler in 2022, and What If They Were. That's a segment where Malik throws me a name of somebody who's never wrestled in Lucha Underground, and I try and make up a story. Malik's going to give me a hand. We're going to try and figure out how this person would fit into the crazy universe known as Dario Cueto's temple. So let's have a look at Where Are They Now. This week we're talking about Son of Havoc, or Mad Dog Matt Cross, if you've been following his indie wrestling career. What are your thoughts of Son of Havoc so far?
Not one of my favorite wrestlers because they're obviously not trying to push him with the biggest storylines, but every time I see him in the ring, he's always been really entertaining. He plays the role of a heel really well. I think as a just dickish heel, he plays that fucking role perfectly. I really like Son of Havoc so far.
Yeah, he's a very crucial cog in the machine that is Lucha Underground. I tweeted out the other day that his matches with Sexy Star early on really introduce the audience to what we're going to find out about the luchadoras, the female luchadors throughout this series. And not everybody needs to be the top, not everybody needs to be Mil Muertes. You need your Son of Havocs, but he's still wrestling, and he's been around for a long time. He's the current next generation wrestling champion. I have actually seen him wrestle live in 2009, which is, what, 13 years ago at this point?
Was that before Lucha Underground? That would have been?
Yes, that was quite a bit before. So I saw him wrestling as Spartan 3000, which was a masked... You know, it's weird. Like, I don't know if you saw what Karrion Kross was looking like when he went to the main roster on Raw. He had like a really bad red gimp mask and this like bondage suit.
I remember that, yeah.
He didn't quite look like that, but he did have a mask, and he wore like Spartan, like loinclothy kind of things, which is what Karrion Kross wore as well. So we kind of had that same sort of vibe going, but he's also, we haven't even seen the tip of the iceberg of what Son of Havoc or Matt Cross is capable of in Lucha Underground. We're going to see a lot more of this character as the series goes on. But I got to see him wrestle as Spartan 3000 against Shannon Moore, who was of WWE, WCW fame, in 2009 in a ladder match during the Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair Australian tour.
There was a Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair Australian tour?
There absolutely was. Had Ric Flair retired at this point? I think he had. And the first thing Ric Flair did after the big retirement with Shawn Michaels was go fucking wrestle Hulk Hogan in 3 matches in Australia. And honestly, the main event for that match was weird. We were the 3rd show in the row in the tour. I was at the Sydney show. And that was like the big one. There was tons of blood. It went really, really long. It was a really bizarre mishmash kind of roster. We had like Umaga was wrestling there. He died like 2 weeks later, which was really sad. Ken Kennedy was there as well, or Mr. Anderson at this point. Brutus Beefcake, of course he was there because it's Hulk Hogan's best mate. He fucking follows him everywhere. It was just a really bizarre, like, little... It was like a little indie show, but it was headlined by Hogan and Flair, which was just very, very strange.
Yeah, that would have been really fucking odd to see, but it's really cool how many big names they did have, actually. Like, obviously, yeah, a lot of them were well past their prime in 2009, but fuck, they still got a lot of big names for that show.
So, well, the highlight for the show, there were 3 highlights from that show. One of them was a guy dressed like the Ultimate Warrior, to the point where all he was wearing was Speedos. He was wearing Speedos, elbow pads with like tassels and shit. He had his face painted. He had like a big mullet wig on. And the first time I saw him, I'm sitting at my seat and I kind of look over to the left and he's like... I don't know if you've ever like been to a sporting event and had to walk back to your seat holding 2 beers, but he had a beer in each hand, and he's like doing like the little double step like down the steps because he's obviously fucking charged up already. Like he's full of alcohol as it is, and he was like heaving like the Ultimate Warrior does, like holding his beers. He's like, ooh, ooh, and like fucking like hulking. And I just yelled out to him, I was like, the power of the warrior! And he's like, started like moving his hand, he's like starting to spill his beer and shit. I was like, oh my fucking god, this guy is dedicated to the fucking bit.
About to erupt into a whole promo almost.
Oh, he's gonna be like, I will grab the airplane controls and put it into a nosedive. Like, I end up getting a photo with him. I'll see if I can dig it out and I'll put it up on the screen here. But he was having a big night. The other highlight was my mate, who I went with, who not a wrestling fan. He managed to get impressively drunk throughout that night. We both did, but him in particular. During the women's match, it was Lacey Von Erich versus somebody. I can't even remember who she was fighting. And the crowd was dead. Half the people went to concession to get food or to take a piss or whatever. It was this women's match. It was really quiet in the arena, and my fucking stupid mate just yells at the top of his lungs, "Kick her in the cunt."
Jesus Christ.
Kicker in the cunt is what and like I say, everybody in that fucking arena, including the wrestlers, I'm sure, would have heard that. I looked at him like, bro, that's not okay. He probably, it's like kids meanwhile, everyone there is like pissed drunk anyway, nobody gave a shit. But the highlight of that night wasn't Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair. Who was it? I think it was the Ultimate Warrior. I think it's the same Ultimate Warrior guy having a match during intermission in the stands with a guy dressed up like The Undertaker. But they weren't like throwing each other over chairs like they were having a brawl. They were like doing like pro wrestling spots. Like the Undertaker guy got Ultimate Warrior in a sleeper hold. And then some dude, he may or may not have been dressed like a referee, it might have just been some random, walks over and grabs the Ultimate Warrior's hand and lifts it up and like drops it. And the fucking, all the like, maybe, I don't know, 5,000 people that were in the arena at the time, because this was intermission, were like, 1! And he picks up the hand and drops it again. 2! He picks up the hand and the Ultimate Warrior starts fucking shaking his fist and the fucking crowd was like, yeah, Warrior! It was way more interest in that match than it was in Lacey Von Erich's match at that point.
You know the show is bad when people are having matches in the crowd?
It was in intermission and they were just hammered, I guess, but it was crazy how into it everybody else in the arena was. Everybody was watching these guys do these like rudimentary pro wrestling, you know, false finishes and shit like that, and they were loving it. So
gold.
You can also find Son of Havoc, because that's who we were talking about. You can find him on Twitter at MD Matt Cross. Sorry, MDog Matt Cross, MDOGG Matt Cross, MATTCROSS. He's got a Pro Wrestling Tees store as well, and you can hit him up on PayPal. He's got a P.O. box, so go to his Twitter and get his P.O. box and, I don't know, send him a letter. Something nice. That'll be a nice thing to do. But that's what Son of Havoc is doing these days. He's still getting around the wrestling circuit.
Yeah, it's good to hear because he's a really good talent and I'd fucking love to see more of him in the wrestling business. And you know what? I think he would actually be a really good fit to go into AEW. I think he's getting on a little bit now, but he, as far as like style-wise and experience-wise and his, you know, ability to do the job well, 100%, he'd be a great fit anywhere. I honestly feel like he'd be almost a better fit for... I was going to say NXT, but yeah, they don't like people over a certain age now, so maybe not anymore. But go back like 2 years ago, he would have been a perfect fit for what NXT was, you know, 2 years ago. So that's Where Are They Now? That means it's time for What If They Were. Malik, who have you got for me this week on What If They Were? This week, for you, I have got Malachi Black in AEW.
Ooh, Malachi Black. That's that's an interesting one. That kind of writes itself. I mean, he's already got that demonic, gothic kind of gimmick, and we haven't delved too far into that in Lucha Underground yet. But I almost feel like he could be. I could see him as. I don't want to say like Sting because that sounds too obvious. I'm thinking more like the actual movie The Crow, where he was. It was all about vengeance or revenge, and like he's got an axe to grind. I would love to see him kind of popping up, taking people out without much explanation, and then lead that onto some kind of he's got some sort of axe to grind against one of the other characters that's, you know, more in the supernatural kind of realm. Your Muertes and things like that.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that would even be better than what I've come up with, just to have him kind of just come into the company and he's coming after a list of people. And I think his character works really well in the style of Lucha Underground as well, so he can do his crazy, creepy fucking promos and, like you said, go after all the kind of supernatural names like Mil Muertes, or even like a character like King Cueno would be a really good fit for like a match together.
See, I feel like you mentioned before, like he has a list. Like I'd love we're gonna see a lot of like not religious, but like goddish kind of symbolisms in this show. And I would love them to find something throughout history, whether it's from the Aztec, history, or whether it's from like a different branch of history, but some kind of like group of deities or group of like, different entities or people that they can kind of mirror and say like, back in such and such BC, this man had to take out his top 5 enemies. This one was like, a big fucking... He was made out of stone. And this one here was a snake. And this one here was like that real kind of symbolic, religious almost kind of symbolism. I'd love to see them mix something from actual history with Aleister Black, with Malachi Black, kind of having his sort of, hit list of deities, it feels like.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, and I think that kind of fits with what he does in his promos as well, because you can definitely tell in a ton of his promos that he's got a lot of religious imagery in his promos, and a religious and history aspect that would come from like Lucha Underground and him would work together really fucking well. I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah, I agree with that. He would be a fantastic fit in Lucha Underground. That's one of those characters that really doesn't even need to be changed too much. You just need to come up with a compelling long-term story arc for that character to get introduced to the fans. And yeah, that he would be a fantastic addition to Lucha Underground. So yeah, definitely down for that.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking when I wrote it down to like brainstorm for it as like a single feud. So I was kind of thinking in like a mindset that like it would just go after Prince Puma. But I honestly like what you said a bit more, where he goes against like a few people in the roster. I think that's really fucking cool.
Well, what's interesting about that suggestion is and this makes no sense at all, by the way, but when Aleister Black got called up from NXT to the main roster, there was like a big weird week where suddenly like 10 people from NXT all got announced that they were going to Raw or SmackDown. They had no idea what to do with him, so they randomly chucked him in a tag team with Ricochet, of all people.
Really?
Yeah.
Against or with?
With, like, they stuck together for like a month or two, I guess, until whatever. There was probably a draft. They were having a draft every other week at that point, but it was weird. It was a very bizarre team, but both, Aleister Black and Ricochet have both said like, fuck, I love that. That was so much fun being in a tag team with that guy. So, I mean, obviously we're fucking with timelines a little bit now, but yeah, there is definitely a connection between those two guys. So a series of matches between them would be, that'd be nice. Well, that is gonna do it, everyone. That is episode 5 of Back to the Temple. This episode was called Boyle Heights Street Fight. You can find out... Oh, hang on a second. What are we doing here? There's Boyle Heights Street Fight. Malik, where can they find us on the social media?
You can find us at Back to the Temple on Twitter. You can follow us on SoundCloud at Back to the Temple for audio versions of the show. And for video versions of the show, you can follow us on FWCI Sports and Gaming on YouTube.
And you can follow me on Twitter at FWCIE or Instagram at FWCIETC. Thank you guys for checking out this episode. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about all this. We love to engage with you in the comments as well. We'll catch you guys when you come back to the temple for episode 6, The Key.
Peace.
Hasta luego, mates.
I forgot we were doing the adios.